Hey guys, this is OddOneGaming. This is going to be another Raid Shadow Legends video. So in today's video, we're going to talk about the rotation number 3 of the Hydra. You know what? Hydra's been out for a while, but there's still, not too many people that actually decide to tackle this. So I'm trying to do this every single time the rotation changes back to a new one. I'm trying to make this quick video so I can give some advice of, like what's the best way to tackle it, who are the best champions to use, what's the best affinities and all that. Just kind of like the same way that I did last time. So hopefully I can give you guys some pieces of advice if you're trying to, I don't know, beat normal, hard, brutal, or maybe even nightmare Hydra. So for example, if you want to check exactly what rotation is, what stats they have and all that, make sure you go to hellhades.com. Then if you go here to Raid Shadow Legends, click the stages tool and it's going to take you to this page, to Raid Shadow Legends stages tool. Then you click on the encounter type. You select over here Hydra, for example, it's going to be rotation number 3, and then you select the difficulty that you want to check out, and it's going to show you all the stats, all the affinities and all that basically we will be tackling. So let me move myself over to this side because that's going to be easier. Let's make this page a little bit higher so while we talk about it, we can see exactly what we are going to be facing. So as we can notice, the starting heads for this rotation are the Head of Decay, Head of Blight, Head of Suffering, and Head of Wrath. Then the ones that can swap in are the Head of Torment and the Head of Mischief. So basically, if you're tackling the lower difficulties, normal or hard, you know that you have to think of a way of dealing with the Head of Decay, which is basically going to be provoke champions, or even 2 in order to keep the Head of Decay provoked most of the time. Then we're talking about the Head of Blight. You either need the block buffs to put on every single one of the Hydra heads, or you need somebody that places HP burn, not hit but places, because if the Blight puts out the poison cloud, that means every single hit you're gonna do is gonna count as a weak hit. So, and then we have what? Head of Suffering, which again, Head of Suffering is not that much of a problem, but he does put reflect damage on himself, he does put ally protection on every other head, and he puts also the, what's it called? That thing, I don't know exactly the name, the shield, which basically every time you hit him, one of your champions will take damage. So whoever that one is placed on, he's gonna take extra damage, but you can cleanse that. And then we have the Head of Wrath, which is basically, he's usually not that big of a problem as long as you bring damage mitigation. Damage mitigation such as decrease attack, such as increase defense, strengthen shields, there's plenty of ways to deal with him, and I feel like he's one of the easier ones as long as you have all those things covered. Then the ones that can slot in, like I said, Head of Torment, Head of Mischief, usually these are the ones that are a problem if they start at the beginning. So first of all, let's have a look at, what's the best way to tackle this one if we're talking about normal and hard. Again, like I specified, if you're facing normal Hydra or hard Hydra, the chances of actually having the same head spawn again are pretty high compared to like Brutal and Nightmare, where you kind of need to prepare for all 6 heads. So for example, for the sake of this one, you have, like I said, the starting 3 of the starting ones are Spirit Affinity, which means the MVP for this rotation is obviously gonna be Ugo, for example, for the sake of support, because Ugo is Magic Affinity. Let's have a look at Ugo's kit just to clarify exactly why. So like I said, because we have 3 spirits and 1 magic, Ugo being Magic Affinity is going to be perfect because there's going to be only that 3% chance that you're not going to land the debuffs with Ugo. But Ugo's going to provide us with a decreased defense and the block buffs, which are like 2 of the important things that I mentioned. At the same time, it brings a cleanse of the heat reduction, which the Head of Decay places, and 1 random other debuff, which can be, I don't know, poison, the provoke placed by Wrath, or the shield mirroring. Like, I keep forgetting that name. I don't exactly. Leave it in the comments below. What's the name, guys? Because I cannot think of it right now. But yeah, Ugo can bring that cleanse, and at the same time can bring the massive heal. Plus, if she's gonna be the last one alive, can be as a reviver. But I would not rely on that. So one thing to keep in mind always, if you're gonna use Ugo, obviously you have the accuracy that you need to land the debuffs, but at the same time, make sure you give Ugo tons of HP, because Ugo's heal is based off her max HP, not the ally that she heals is max HP. So definitely Ugo is going to be the MVP of this one, and obviously the best thing to build Ugo in is Reflex if you can do that, if not Relentless, because you want her to rotate through her skills as often as possible. I mean, in general, for the sake of Hydra, Reflex and Relentless are kind of like the top tier, the best sets to use for the sake of that. Then when we talk about another MVP, because of the same reason of affinity, we go into the high-ups. Let's talk about one of the best DPSs, and that's Royal Guard. Again, because Royal Guard's magic affinity, he's going to be strong affinity against 3 of the starting heads and neutral against the Head of Suffering, which is magic. So he's going to be amazing for the sake of doing enemy max HP. Enemy max HP is normally a little bit better once you go to the higher stages, but it can still work for lower stages, and this one's gonna do pretty solid damage. And if you don't have anybody else that brings decreased speed, you can use his A3 as well for the sake of decreased speed, because as I mentioned in almost, I think, every single one of my Hydra videos, increased speed and decreased speed are like one of the best buffs slash debuffs in the game to use for the sake of Hydra, because you want to go as often as you can yourself, and you want the Hydra to go as little as they can. Another one that deserves a really good shout because of affinity is Lady Kimi. Again, Lady Kimi, like I mentioned, brings AoE decreased speed and decreased accuracy, which means you can actually build your team with not too crazy resist, and you can resist most of the debuffs, and at the same time brings AoE increased speed and increased accuracy. And at the same time, if they have a buff on themselves, we're not counting the poison cloud, but like the ally protection maybe from the Head of Suffering, you can remove that and place block buffs instead. However, I would not rely on Lady Kimi to be the only block buff champion in your team, so keep that in mind. So these are the 3 top ones that I want to mention for the sake of affinity, but at the same time, there's another one that it's basically, this one's like an MVP for every single affinity, and that's somebody that can place HP burn without having to hit, and that's Geomancer. Even though Geomancer's wrong affinity, because like I said, 1, 2, 3 Spirit, and especially against the Head of Wrath, his wrong affinity, he's gonna be still good, because if you give him enough survivability and maybe bring somebody with an ally protection, or bring somebody, you know, with a big shield, or build somebody in a Guardian set, you can make him survive enough. And the thing is, he's gonna take more damage from Head of Wrath, which means he's gonna reflect more damage from his HP burn, so always keep that in mind. One person that maybe will not be as good for the sake of this rotation will be Mighty Uko. So Mighty Uko is amazing because he can remove buffs, he can place decreased accuracy and block buffs, he can bring increased speed, AoE decreased attack, and revive. But because of the wrong affinity, it might be a little bit difficult to keep Uko alive. So having Uko as the single reviver might be tough. He might still work, but he might be tough to be the only reviver. And because, like I said, because of the wrong affinity, it might be difficult. If you pair Uko with Ugo though, that's gonna work out pretty well. So when we're talking about provokers, there's obviously there's the top tier ones. You have Solus that can do provoke, debuff extension. Then you have Coronar that can do again provoke. He can become the mischief tank himself if the mischief is gonna come up. Then there's what? There's Scholar Vargal, because even though Scholar Vargal, again, he's gonna be wrong affinity. If you have a look at Scholar Vargal in the Lizardman, he can still be good because his provoke is the place. So again, you do not care about affinity, he's still gonna work pretty well. If you don't have, like, you know, if you don't have all these top tiers, there's 3 free-to-play options that I always mention, that I want to mention again, that you can use for the sake of provoking, and that's first one is a free champion that people sleep on, and that's Visix, the Unbowed. Provoke for 1 turn on a 3-turn cooldown, then AoE decreased speed with some ally protection, then double hitter A1. Like, the double hitter is not too crazy, but the thing with Visix is Visix can smack pretty hard, so because she can smack pretty hard and brings the provoke and brings the decreased speed, I can make it pretty amazing. At the same time, the next free-to-play version for sake of provoking is Jizzo. Lots of people maybe sleep on Jizzo, but Jizzo brings a 2-turn provoke on a 4-turn cooldown with a continuous heal on himself, and then at the same time on the A2 he places a shield and a counterattack on whoever you choose to do that and grants an extra turn, which means if you have him like a reflex or relentless, he should always have that provoke up ready to hit the Head of DK. And then another one that's a really good one, that's a free-to-play version of the provokes, and that is Master Butcher. Master Butcher basically, again, has a provoke for 2 turns on a 4-turn cooldown, with also placing increased crit rate and increased attack, which can help for, you know, pumping up a little bit of extra damage, but is not too crazy. But at the same time, has a provoke on the A1. So he can be definitely a good provoker for the sake of this rotation. His passives do not work, unfortunately, against bosses, but this one does work. So if he gets killed and somebody else is dead as well, he's gonna revive that person, so he can be a really viable option. Obviously, the one that's gonna be MVP, and in my opinion, this is the MVP provoker for all rotations, that's gonna be Bival. Bival of the Throne is just amazing because he brings provoke, he brings leech, strength on himself, massive heal and shields, plus provoke on the A1, plus he can bring an HP, you know, an HP lead in all battles, which is obviously gonna work for the sake of Hydra as well. And he, honestly, I would recommend in every single rotation, because it doesn't matter if he weak hits or if there's a poison cloud out there, he still has a chance to land the provoke here, and he still lands the provoke here, unless you get 3% resisted. Otherwise, he's top tier. And obviously the MVP of all rotations, which is going to be Krisk. He's void, he places the provoke as well, brings all the other crazy stuff, but everybody knows, I think by now, that Krisk is MVP for Hydra in general. Then the other ones, I guess, for the sake of let's talking about newer champions that were released. I guess 2 ones that I would really want to mention is from the Bannerlords is Mariska the Unbreakable. Her base stats are really good. Let me move myself on the other side. So her base stats overall are really good. Good speed, good HP, good defense. And the kit can be really amazing for this one, because on the A1, whenever she does the A1, random ally will team up and do an ally attack. So if you have somebody with an A1, that's going to be amazing, you know, because guess what? More War Master procs. If Geomancer joins the attack, more War Master procs and chance to land the decreased accuracy. Even though he's weak affinity, he's still going to do those hits. Then on the A2, this is something that's extremely amazing. Even though I feel like this is more towards the Sand Devil, this is really amazing when you're facing the Head of DK, because it fully restores any allies' decreased max HP. What does that mean? That means every time the Head of DK decreases your max HP, Mariska gets a turn and she can always get the max HP back. This always happens when the Head of DK is out and you heal yourself, you always have your max HP decreased, and that can be tricky because basically that lowers your survivability. So having her in the team to do that restoration of max HP and the massive heal and the shield and the strengthen is just insane. She's just amazing. And not only that, she also has a full cleanse and turn meter boost on her A3. And the turn meter boost increases by the amount of, you know, the more debuffs you remove, the more turn meter is boosted. This one's on a 4-turn cooldown, but it grants an extra turn if 5 or more debuffs were removed. So for example, because we have the Head of Blight, it might be tons of poisons on you, or leech, or the weaken, or provokes. She does that cleanse, boom, everybody gets a massive turn meter boost. Also the passive, she has an interesting passive, but this one can be tricky and you have to keep an eye out for, is if we have the poison that lands on us from the Head of Blight, she's gonna place that block damage. So if the mischief is gonna be out, make sure you have a mischief target, because otherwise this can be, you know, this cannot be beneficial for you, but it can be a problem. If the block damage is stolen by the mischief and spread, then you're gonna struggle to take it out, unless you have a good mischief tank. And also she brings an insane ally speed in all battles by 24%. So overall she's an amazing champion. Plus this one, again, revives all that allies with 50% HP and 75% turn meter whenever this champion is killed. So for example, I would suggest Mariska being built in a Guardian set. She would be the one that keeps soaking the damage, and then if she dies, if there's anybody else that dies, they are revived and they can go again and do their whole stuff. Another one that I want to mention is from the Dark Elves, from the new ones, and that's Tramaria or Tramaria, however you would say the name. Again, she has something really good for Hydra. AoE decreased speed on the A1, which goes up to 50% chance. Again, increased speed, decreased speed are amazing for Hydra. Then on the A2, she just has a hit. This one, unfortunately, is not going to be that helpful. Even though it's an AoE hit, you cannot stun the Hydra heads and you cannot manipulate the turn meter. So maybe for the sake of Hydra, just turn off this one, the A2, but then on the A3, again, another good cleanse, removes all debuffs from all allies, and fills the Terminator again. So good cleanse plus Terminator boost, which means all of your team are gonna move, move faster. And at the same time, kind of like Morishka, the more debuffs you remove. For example, you're gonna remove the True Fear or the fear from the head of Torment. If he's gonna pop up, you're gonna get more Terminator boost, and at the same time fills the Terminator Vichara for more for any debuff remove. So again, she's gonna be pretty massive for the sake of that. Then on the passive, she's immune to sleep, which is kind of not, it's not that useful in there because she's not good. There's nobody that does sleep for the sake of Hydra, but fills the champion's Terminator by 20% whenever an enemy tries to place fear, true fear, and all those other stuff on her. So for example, again, Head of Torment, she gets a Terminator boosted if there's going to be a fear, true fear placed on her. It does not cleanse it, but it boosts the Terminator. And again, it has a good ally speed in all battles by 23%. So yeah, there's obviously going to be some good other champions in there that you can mention, such as like, for example, Snake Track, which is really amazing, brings AoE decreased speed with shields, ally protection, reflect damage, decreased attack with leech, good passive as well, good lead. So there's plenty of good ones that you can mention there. I'm not gonna go through every single one, just wanted to mention like the ones that I believe are kind of like the MVPs for the sake of this rotation. When we're talking, let's just talk shortly about the Head of Torment, Head of Mischief. Well, for the sake of Head of Torment, he's what's it called? He's Force Affinity. So if you're gonna have a Duchess in here, that can be a little bit complicated because Duchess likes to always do the A1 against strong affinity. So for example, she's the one that would put Perfect Veil for you. She's always gonna A1 the Head of Torment, which means she's always gonna be a Perfect Veil. So she's still gonna be amazing, but she might not be the best option if the Head of Torment is out. So you might rather maybe have someone like a Shamel, Rectodrath, or a Tatura Rhymehide. Even though Tatura is, again, Spirit Affinity, he might still attack the Head of Torment. But then you have Truath and so on. For the sake of Mischief, like honestly, the affinity doesn't matter that much because he will always attack the one that has the most buffs. So unless you have guaranteed decreased accuracy and high enough resist on everybody on your team to resist the buff steal, you can think of bringing somebody for the sake of Mischief tanky, which can be Oboro, which can be Bival, which can be Coroner. So trying to bring somebody that covers several roles, and that's like Mischief targeting and provoke, or Mischief targeting and damage. There's plenty of ways to play around with it, but this is for the higher levels for Brute or a Nightmare. If you're lower ones, like I said, just focus on these ones. But yeah, this is gonna be it for the video today, guys. If you do enjoy my content and if you do enjoy these types of videos, just let me know in the comments down below so I can make this type of video every time the rotation resets. So hopefully this is gonna be good information for each and every one of you out there. But yeah, this is gonna be it for today. If you do enjoy my content, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'm gonna see you on the next one. Peace, love, take care everyone. Bye guys.